0164 or 272 3819. Hello, the Peace Talk Show is back on the bench. We educate, advocate, and inform you on peace, security, and dangers related to violence. Every week, we have interesting topics to discuss. Our guests are highly informed. Gambia is the homeland of peace. Let's teach the world peace. Follow Alassana Justice Diallo every other Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. For sponsors and partners, contact 369 0164 or 272 3819. Hello, the Peace Talk Show is back on the bench.
Hello, good evening, viewers, wherever you are watching us. This is the Peace Talk Show, a program that is brought to you every Friday to discuss on issues surrounding our national peace and security. Here with me is our old friend, classmate, and a journalist and environmental activist, Mr. Mustafa Mane, who joined us live online, or who joined us today to discuss on a very important topic. Mr. Mane, you're welcome to the Peace Talk Show.
Thank you so much, Alan.
Thank you. Mr. Mane was a school classmate, at Gambia High, and we did it there. And today, thank God, we are all doing our things in our own ways and contributing positively towards national and, global development. Today, our point of discussion here is that, environmental issues, and Mustafa is an active environmental activist in the Gambia and around the world. And Mustafa has been saying and writing and, in fact, showing to the world some of the environmental problems that actually are happening around the country and the world, and which actually little or no attention are given to. Realizing that environment can actually contribute, or environment in fact is contributing to instability and serving as a source of conflict around the world, and of which Gambia is not an exception. We actually have brought this specific edition to discuss on environmental factors affecting our national peace and security. Mr. Mane, what do you say to the topic?
Thank you so much, Al-Azhar. It's an honor being here.
Thank you.
This is a very important topic, like you said. Environment is always an issue that many usually neglect until when there is something happen. And bringing this as a topic is very important, and it's going to be very educative. And I hope to see what I know with the people who are listening and viewing.
Very well. According to our findings and research, we've realized that Nigeria, Sudan, South Africa, and many countries that actually are today into conflict, environmental issues have served as a contributing factor to their conflicts. And basically, in the Gambia, we have seen situations of environmental issues which actually are coming always, but actually little or no attentions are given to this. And in fact, signs and symptoms are there that when these environmental issues are not properly handled, Gambia could see itself into a conflict that could be so chaotic. Some time ago, I told someone who is a friend of mine in the security police. I told him that Gambia does not have any external threat. Our threat is internal, and the major contributor is the environment. Our environment actually is now giving us all signs and symptoms that potential conflicts are there, but actually are we hidden to this? But Mustafa will take us through, because Mustafa is highly involved, and he actually is an active environmental activist and a journalist around the West Coast region, and where we have seen the Sanyang, the Gunjur, the Batokonko, and the Faraba, and Brikama, and so forth. Basically, Mr. Mane is also the regional editor of the China Africa Trust, right?
China Dialogue Trust.
China Dialogue Trust. And he will tell us something about the China Dialogue Trust. Mr. Mane, what inspired you to be an environmental activist?
Thank you so much, Al Hassan. You said a lot, and you touched almost everything that is much important. Personally, I always said, when you ask me what really drive me into this activism, I said I live in a community that have been seriously affected for quite a long time, that have been seriously traumatized, and that have been seriously violated for almost 2 decades without receiving any compensation or without receiving any benefit. We all know that I'm from Kartong, and Kartong is a community that have been mined for quite a long time. and the community don't benefit even a single penny. And living in those kind of situations really forced me to come up and said, well, there should be enough for this, and there should be enough for it now. And this is when I started to be involved. And I have been talking about environment since, well, I'll say I started going to high school, because this is when I start to also understand, like seeing the difference between the combo, like when I say combo, I mean Serekunda area and where I live. And I feel like most of the things that they use to develop this Serekunda and Banjul are actually things that are coming from my area. But we have been least developed. That is quite an exploitation. And this is when I start talking about it. And this coincides with the sand mining crisis in Khartoum.
And at some point, some youths were arrested in Khartoum. Were you part of them?
They are not only youths. My father was arrested actually, and my younger brother also was arrested. This
was in 2015, right?
This was November 2015. I was with Dr. Issa Toure on this FGM campaign in Yamina, actually, when my parents were arrested. And that very early morning, I have to leave and join my...
All those issues as a result of the family. Youths of Khartoum protesting because of the environmental damages.
Yes, because sometimes it's more than just environment damage. When it comes to sand mine, or when it comes to this environment, we only look at the environment aspect. But now let's look at the social aspect of it, and also
we will go to the social, the economic, and even sometimes the political aspect of it, because we sometimes understand that sometimes you have the feet of the politicians there. But don't worry, we are going to look at everything step by step here. But tell us something about the China Dialogue Trust, and you are the regional editor. What are you doing?
So, yes, I am working as a regional editor for China Dialogue Trust, which is based in the UK, and but yet we are trying to expand our reaches in Africa, because Africa have been a key when it comes to environmental issues, and China Dialogue Trust is the sole purpose, I will say, in a nutshell, is to break the gap. That is, if you talk about environment, you cannot leave China behind, and to bring that and make sure the world or the outside world have a dialogue with China, and when it comes to environmental issues, is very important. Most of the time, our stories are usually related to environment, and this have to do with ozone. And if you look at our stories, it's quite different with other Western media stories, and these have really helped China Dialogue to even build their trust and also build their brand. And this have really helped them to have their outreach almost all over the world, because we don't just pinpoint one party. We try to analyze the whole issue and look at the grassroots, and how it started, and what are the possible solutions. We don't write stories without bringing out the possible solution, which is quite different from other media outlets.
So basically, you look at China Dialogue Trust, species lost, pollution that actually is caused by the Chinese industries in Africa, and water scarcity, because I think the Chinese industries are doing and causing some of these things.
Yes, we are. And if you look at the China Dialogue stories, yes, most of our stories have to do with Chinese involvement and in climate change and also in environmental issues. But like I said, it's quite different with other media outside who are just going there to point finger on China. But when it comes to China involvement in Africa, Chinese don't come to Africa to work like that. They work with our partners. Chinese are in the Gambia. But if you look at how they work in the Gambia, they have a policy that I always say, divide and rule. They will come and work with only few people that are most influential in the community and neglect the others. So when this happened, what happened is the community will be divided, and the more the community divide, this is when they have more opportunity to explode as much as they can, while people are just fighting. So this is so we have to go back and look at the grassroots. And when we look at the grassroots, we will be able to tackle this environmental crisis, especially that is affecting this small country that's the Gambia.
Thank you. That's Mustafa Mane, a journalist and environmental activist from Khartoum. That's my second homeland. If you are watching us, Musake Sise, a good friend of mine, we are saying hello to you. I'm here with Mr. Mustafa Mane, a very active, and a very positive environmental activist around West Coast region and globally. We actually are discussing environmental factors affecting our national peace and security. The Peace Talk Show, we have conducted almost national survey. I went as far as Kundama, I went as far as Sami Pachonki, I went as far as Koina and Basse, just to conduct research on some of the climate and conflict. I was involved in the research. And I've realized that actually environment of the Gambia is seriously affected. And in this regard, there is always confrontation. There is always push and pull and conflicts around communities, not only in the urban areas here, but even in the rural areas. I went to this place, how do you call it again, Sambang, Nyamina Sambang. The people of Sambang actually have been in conflict. I went to Kudang. I went to Jallakunda and far, these are communities far in Sierra. We've realized that only these land conflicts, these communities, communal conflicts are not only limited in the combos here, but they are also up in the rural areas. And guess what? People are taking up arms when it comes to these conflicts which actually are instigated or which come as a result of environment. And people are becoming impatient. And what are we doing as a nation? Are we just going to fold our hands until the water is spilled and we start looking for solutions? No, the peace talk so actually is here to look at this. In fact, 3 days ago in Banjul, some youths in Banjul actually who came out as a result of sober thinking that actually Banjul is supposed to be preserved and reserved. And they've come out to call it, our Banjul. And we will have Mr. Amadou Wuri Jallo, who actually will join us, who is part of the team that organized it, to also look at this issue. But before his call will come, we actually are going to ask Mr. Mane, how is the destruction of environment in West Coast leading to conflict?
Jallo, this is a very interesting question. West Coast have been on the spotlight for quite a long time. Like I said, West Coast is the backbone of this country when it comes to natural resources. We have sea, we have sand, we have other minerals. So, and for example, I'm from a community that were forced to be mined, that is Kartong. We have been mined for more than 3 decades. And if you look at Kartong, Gunjur, Sanyang, Tujereng, these are coastal communities. And these are communities that have sand. So what happened is, before people don't see sand as a valuable natural resources, they see, okay, sand have to be mined to build houses. But remember, these are areas where our women, our mothers, our sisters do gardening. And this is the gardening money that they paid our school fees. Personally, my mom struggled with the garden to pay my school fee. And I said it, the reason why I joined this activist is personal experience. So if my mom cannot have anywhere to farm because they have destroyed almost all the area just to get the sand and without even compensating them, then there's a conflict. Recently, sand have been, yes, it have been a case, but we have an issue that is even more severe than sand mining, currently affecting the people,
and what is that?
Their lives, and that is fish meal factories.
We will come to the fish meal. In fact, the sand mining issue, let's look at this thing, The sand mining, we have seen that at some point, okay, we will be joined by Mr. Amadou Wuri Jallo. Mr. Amadou, are you with us? Hello? Hello? Are you there, Mr. Jallo? Okay, before he will join us, I was in Sanyang at some point, and what I saw there was quite a bit disappointing. I was there on a retreat, and what I saw there was actually, very frustrating. You have big holes. Are these things not costing any, personal, let's say injuries or even deaths?
What you saw in Sanya is the same thing happening in Gunju. It's the same thing happening in Kachumi. It's the same thing happening in Kartong. The mining companies are mining without any responsibility. The hard fact is they are mining because they want to mine. They are mining because they have the backing of the government. In Kartong, what happened, the reason why people went out is not only because they are taking our sand, but a young boy from grade 6, a grade 6 student, because they mine this place and leave it like that. This boy, they went there to play, and that was enough for the boy. The family were never consulted, never compensated, or even they never sympathized with the family. So the boy lost his life like that. And yes, there have been a lot of threats.
And when we come to the fishing, I saw quite a number of, Dr. Ahmad Skater Jane and you and quite a lot of youths around the West Coast have been very active in the front line. In fact, at some point, I saw his post on this in Sierra Leone Telegram that the Gambian women's life needs to be looked at because the sand mining is costing a lot of things that actually is even putting the life of the Gambian women at risk, and the government has to look at this. This was posted in the Sierra Leone Telegram. Dr. Skater Jane, I don't know whether he is watching the program, and other youths in West Coast also. Also we have another young man who actually wrote in the Gunjur timeline saying that will the Sanyang conflict serve as a festa to Gunjur to also or to serve as a so basically, we have seen that there are others who are conscious of all these signs and symptoms, but nothing have been shed or done. At some point also, I saw a lot of dead fish around the beach, and they said that the fish actually, have been abandoned by the company, and at some point here people were struggling with fish, even though they're dead. But unfortunately, these dead fish were abandoned there, and they were all over scattered there. What do you say to that?
Well, if time will allow me, I'll be able to explain it because I have done more than 5 intensive research on fish meal in the Gambia and fish researcher. Like you said, fish scattered everywhere. Before, we thought that this is because there is a chemical in the water or because there is a contamination. But the reality is, fish meals have no capacity limitation. They don't give them any guidance. They ask them to fish as much as they can. So sometimes these boats will come from Senegal or they will come from other places just to supply the factory with a fish. And a particular factory that is known for this is Golden Lead in Golden Lead. Yeah. So when they have enough fish, they will tell these boat owners that we cannot buy your fish. And already these people took a long journey to come and sell their fish. So already the fish is rotting. So the only option that they have is because first, before what they do is they will just go behind the communities and dump this fish. But that have been on the spot, so now they are scared of that. And the police also follow them when this happened. So now they will go until when no one will see them in the water, and this is when they will discharge all this fish. This is confirmed to me by several fishermen. They say this is at their loss, but because they have no option. They just ask them to go and fish without giving them any guideline. So this has been an issue. And another issue is you said, like you mentioned on your introduction, many conflicts in Africa are usually environmental related. Environment is usually served as a catalyst because it just sparked the whole issue. Before the issue happened in Sanya, I picked it. It's supposed to happen in Kato. I personally apprehend that man. He nearly killed his fellow fishermen with a knife. These are people who we don't even know where they come from. That's why they said before you build a company like that, there should be an impact assessment. Environment and social impact assessment to be able to know the kind of people that are coming to the community, and the community need to be prepared. This has never been done because we are not prepared for it. Before we realize, bam, it happened in Sanya. It happened in Sanya because already the man is working with the factory. And that's why the people retaliate because they have been suffering for quite a long time. If you look at immediately after Sanya, there is a killing in Kato. These fishermen kill each other in Qatar. Imagine now we have people who can kill each other in our community. There is a risk when it comes to security. And it's not even only, but there have been series of theft happening because we are not prepared for it. You're going to even park your property, you have to lock your door because if not, you are not safe. That is the security aspect of it. And like the government need to. I always say I am never anti-development. I am never anti-Chinese, but I am anti-exploiters. Africa need investors, but we need investors who really care about Africans. Do you know the fish meal factories, for example? They are not only disrespecting our environment, but they are disrespecting the people who are working there. Most of them are working there without any employment letters. They are working there just as laborers. You work the day that you work and you pay the day that you work. If you are sick, you are not paid. Is that the kind of development that Africa wants, or is that the kind of development Gambia wants?
That's unfortunate.
And the most interesting part, the most saddest part is, most of the government officials don't even understand the fish meal industry. They don't even know how they operate. Our fish stock level is not even known by our officials. Our fish stock level. This is sad. And I keep saying, I will repeat it here. In the next 5 years, if there's nothing done about this fish meal issues, Gambia will have a food security problem. We are already seeing that happening. The next 5 years, we'll see worse.
I think at some point I do hear people saying that there is no fish at the market, and also there is scarcity of fish, and in the Gambia, So basically, do you think that this fishing? Okay, we are joined by Mr. Amadou Wuri Jallo. Mr. Arms, how are you there? Hello. Hello. Hello, Mr. Jallo. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. I hope I'm audible now.
Yes, you are audible. We actually are getting you, and you are live online in the Peace Talk Show.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We are glad to host you here today in connection to the topic that we are discussing, and this has also come coinciding with actually your movement that actually came out as a result of rational thinking that the environment is supposed to be reserved and preserved.
Indeed, that is
And
right.
Your name is Arbanjul. What actually does the Arbanjul stand for?
Al-Banjul, it is, of course, a local language or a normative language, which is also derived from the lingua franca of the Gambia. That's the language of commerce and communication. That's Wolof. Al-Banjul is standing for the protection of Banjul. That is what the word means.
Okay. That's fine, and we've seen that you said you went out were you protesting or demonstrating? What actually was the rationale behind you going out? Hello. Okay. We lost him, and we will look at this before he comes back. Okay, Mr. Mane. We've also seen that the environment, and we have a lot of estates around the West Coast region, and we have seen proliferation of estates. Actually, are they causing any environmental issues?
Estates are, because most of these estates don't care. That's the problem. We have only a few responsible estates. I think, and this will lead us to call for the government to regularize the estate agencies in the Gambia. Not everyone can run estate agents, and people are seeing this estate business as a way of like removing them from poverty. So for Kartong Gunjur, Kartong actually we have, I will say we don't even have real estate, because if they are there, it's going to be only one. And but if you come to Sanyam, Madina Salam, and Gunjur, and you saw a lot of estates, and these estates are sometimes even bringing conflict between the people. And anywhere they are, they clear everything. Instead of leaving the land as the way it is, whether the man who is coming to buy it will like it. I keep saying, I wouldn't buy a land from estate which is clear. I need that trees to be there. And they clear everything, and that have been an issue. And it also increased a criminal action, because...
Okay, Mr. Jallo is here. Hello, Mr. Jallo, how are you, sir? God, he got lost again.
Yeah, because
I think we will start looking at network as a source of conflict, because the network in the Gambia is also another problem. Mr. Jallo. Yes, I said actually, what was the reason for your movement? Why were you out? Because I had the Tanbi wetland, and I do not know what this Tanbi wetland is, and I think it will be very good for you to clarify it here.
Yes, the Tanbi wetland, and it is almost at the western part of Banjul, whereas this area was protected under an international law, that is the Ramsar. Gambia is a signatory to it. And this area was used as a breeding space. If you study the history of the Gambia very well, in 1952, there was a flood that occurred when the British were able to come up with a drainage system to be sure that this drainage system have been very helpful as far as Banjul, the island, that is the capital city of the Gambia, is concerned. And they are very, I can say, within a few years back, we've seen these particular areas have been industrialized in such a way that it is affecting Banjul, affecting the drainage system, and as well, it is fast-tracking what we call climate change and effects of climate change as far as the island is concerned. So, seeing this being among the present leaders and as well the future leaders of this country, we cannot sit also until it is already too late, then we start rising up. That is one of the reasons why we say we are doing this in a very civilized manner, because all of us who are in this movement, we are of people with great responsibilities, and we understand very well what the law and the constitution of this country have dictated as far as...
That's fine. So basically, what actually is happening at that Tanbi wetland? Is it actually posing any environmental threat to you people, or it has caused anything?
You know, claimant of your national...
Hello?
Severely fast mode. So am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Hello?
Yes,
yeah. I'm saying, like, severely, when you look at what happened recently, the first flood that occurred in Banjul is as a result of there's one particular area that has been constructed at the Tanbi wetland, which is part of a petrol station, where these areas used to be areas where water, whenever there is rain, this water will move into these areas. But these areas now have been industrialized almost, we are talking about 300 meters by 400 meters.
Seriously? That's rather unfortunate. We actually lost him again, and Mr. Mane, I am afraid the time is running fast, and we are moving. So, Mr. Mane, basically, how is the environment actually, these environmental hazards that are coming around, affecting, women in farm around your area? Like you just post, like your own mom was a gardener, and, we've realized that, in that part of the Gambia, many women actually, live by gardening and farming, and, so if we hear that, environmental issues are coming around, affecting, affecting women, I'm sure it's going to also affect, productivity of their crops. And, this actually begs this question: how is, these environmental issues affecting women and children?
Thank you so much. The environmental effect have, or climate change have affected women a lot. And it's not only about the agricultural sector, but we can also look at the fishery sector. Most of these women are the ones who are doing these oysters and the cockles. We all know that. And these are, because, like I said, I would always use Khartoum for now as a sample, because that's where I live and that's where I work with these women. Most of them are farmers before, but they cannot farm anymore, so they have to look for an alternative, and the alternative for them is to go for oysters and cockles. But believe me, for the past 2 years, they are not enjoying what they have been enjoying for quite a long time because of climate change. The oysters are dying, and nobody knows what happened. There is a possible contamination, but we cannot say exactly what really contaminated those oysters. And already, they have we have a sea rise in Khartoum, and that is affecting their productivity. And this is their only stronghold. If there is no oyster or cockles, they have to go on the street to beg. Or they have to look for like maybe a microfinance to be able to start another business. But I can say Kombosar have been seriously affected, badly affected by climate change.
That's rather unfortunate. Mr. Njai is trying us. Hello. Hello. Oh God. Viewers, This is the Peace Talk Show, the weekly program that is brought to discuss on issues surrounding our national peace and security. We have started a new edition, or a new episode, actually, that is the environmental factors or environmental issues affecting our national peace. Okay, Mr. Jallo.
Yes.
Yeah, so you were saying that, that particular land that used to serve as, a way, for, Banjul, protection, or what I can say, which used to be a ground which, that, it's used to protect Banjul from flooding, has now been industrialized. And as a result, we have seen that, massive flood has come in Banjul, and this has led to a lot of destructions, even though we are saying that, Banjul was rebuilt, but Banjul has been destroyed to actually a state that people actually are even putting this question that was Banjul actually rebuilt in a serious manner. So what is the way forward now, Mr. Because the time is going.
Yes, I believe, in short, what I can remind the Gambians is to understand that at this particular situation, if Banjul is not being protected, for example, if Banjul is to submerge today, it means Gambia will not have government. There will be no government in the Gambia because we have nothing less than 15 ministries, and then the president's state house itself, it is in Banjul. So if this particular place have submerged due to our negligence, it means we will not have a government. There will be no government because with government we need operation. So as people and as a country, this is of course very important that everybody knows that Banjul means the Gambia. As far as I can say environmental factors and environmental calamities are concerned, we should make sure that Banjul is protected. And when you look at the forces that are surrounding Banjul as of now, considering the sand mining that is happening at Denton Bridge right now, which is not, of course, a secret. Everybody is aware of it. And when you look at also the commercialization of the interior part of Banjul, whereas stores are constructed and you don't have any space where the people can live. 30 years ago, when you look at or you listen to my interview, 30 years ago or 20 years ago, Banjul used to have nothing less than 65,000 inhabitants. But today, we are 31,000 people as a result of what? Commercialization and as well negligence to make sure that Banjul is being established as a place where people can live and as well earn a living.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jallo. I think this is very, very significant, and you've said something very interesting here, that if Banjul should submerge today, and we are afraid that the time is gone, but we look forward to have you in our subsequent programs here live where we are going to discuss on these things. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much.
So basically, he has said something very interesting here, that is the capital, and I think that is a concern of everybody. But they have been looked as criminals, or I even saw some comments, people trying to politicize it, How will it be if today, the capital should flood to an extent that, the state house is not spared? How will that be?
Well, the issue of Banjul, I would say to the youth that let them keep up what they are doing. They have all right to speak their mind and to come out, especially to demand for a better Banjul.
But the problem we have here is that when the youths come out, always, this is something that is politicized, or sometimes they try to radicalize you or try to misinterpret what you've been saying. And coming out here and actually saying that to protect that particular that can be, from industrialization, because we have, according to him, you have 300 meters being sold, and now we have seen that used to be the place, maybe perhaps where the water will exit, and now this is the place now where this, perhaps petrol station is being built, and we have seen that Banjul has flooded. And, the flooding of Banjul is a catastrophe, how will you see that? And then we have also seen, the mining around the Denton Bridge, which is also a threat to our bridge there. How will it be if that bridge actually, I don't think, sometimes environmentally we are conscious of certain things. And I think it's high time, Mustafa, you on the coast start, hammering the dust. I know you will face challenges and counter challenges like the challenges that we faced. But these are some of the things that should serve as motivating factors and to be very resilient. Because today, let's say the Denton Bridge, if that bridge should collapse, how long will it take for that bridge to be reconstructed?
It's going to be.
Don't you think that is going to affect administration of government? And is this thing put into consideration?
It's sad, and I would say if you say Kombasa, I would say maybe the ministers don't usually go to Kombasa. But Banjul is a place where almost every week ministers go there because that's where the state house is. And that's where even most of these ministers are because their offices are located, especially Korango. So the issue is Gambians need to see Gambia first. Gambians need to understand that every single action that you do reflect back to your people. It's not about us. It's about the future generation that is coming. I always say this. If our forefathers were so neglected like we are today, we are not going to enjoy what we are enjoying today. So we need to move on and we need to see our Gambia as our Gambia, and we need to definitely work on that.
We need to see our Gambia as the Gambia, and I'm afraid that the time is gone, and we actually have come to the end of the program. We are very sorry that Mr. Duduja could not join us because of a personal errand that came to him in a hot manner, and it was an emergency that he couldn't join us, and we have his picture on the flyer. But basically, it has been constructive, and this is Mustafa's area. That is an environmental and a journalist, environmental activist, and we have all heard what Mustafa is saying. Like I told you, in the next couple of weeks, then we are going to be looking at environmental issues and conflict because we cannot spare this. We've conducted a thorough research, climate change and conflict, what motivated us to actually design this topic or this theme for the next couple of weeks is that we've realized that, it is just at the corner. And, if care is not taken, basically, we will be taken by environmental conflict, and, it is happening around other countries. And even in the Gambia, we have seen it, growing or festering. So basically, it's high time we become environmentally conscious and let's stay rational and positive. Because if we try to perceive things in a negative manner, we are all going to actually, have, the consequence that is going to, because climate change is there. Aside from the climate change, we have seen that also, there will be shortage of farmlands, and when you go to the rural Gambia, we have seen, salt actually intrusion into farmlands, when you go to CRR and not bank, some communities, anywhere you dig, you come across, this salt, and they cannot have, very good, comfortable drinking water. You understand? And you go to other communities in Sierra and Nyamina as well, these hippos also and all. So basically, we have both man-made and natural phenomena that actually threat to our environment. And, when all these things happen, it now brings food insecurity. And when there is food insecurity, intolerance becomes high. And when intolerance becomes high, people are on the streets to, so are their grievances. And this is a recipe for, an instability. So we have to be very conscious of these things. And Mustafa Mani, we thank you for coming. And what do you say to your viewers?
Finally, I will first say thank you and for inviting me here. It's an honor to discuss about these environmental issues. My final words will definitely goes to the authorities, the duty bearers, which are the government. Environmental issues are very important issues, and we cannot just neglect them for any reason. We have to act now, and we definitely have to act. Global warming is real. We are saying the current rainfall in the Gambia have really sent us the best alarm that should really wake up. We should not just only act when diversity or when calamity happens. We should be proactive. We should tackle the issues at the right position. Banjul issues should not be neglected. The government have to work hard to make sure Banjul issues are addressed. It's a shame if you go to Banjul, if you're from outside, you think that Banjul is even not a capital. Banjul could have been the best place in the world due to the strategic location, but Banjul have been completely neglected. And I hope the government will definitely take a right step and work with concerned youths. They are not oppositions. They have a concern to raise, and they have all right to raise that concern. So people should give them the respect.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mustafa Mani, activist and a journalist who actually joined us today to discuss on environmental factors affecting our national peace and security. And we've heard from him, and the discussion has been clear. And we also thank my former classmate and my president, Mr. President. Arms, we thank you for your call, and we thank you for your concern, and we are telling the youth of Banjul, open up your eyes. The Gambia belongs to Gambians, and basically, let's be positive and be law-abiding. But also, the law authorities, let's make sure that, we give excuse to dialogue and communication. Communication is very important. Always invite people when they have issues in them, because if you try to repress and oppress, basically this can, invent another form of conflict. And, it's better for us to dialogue always to settle our issues amicably. When people get up and said we are getting up for the sake of Gambia, even if it was the president to come to them and see them or them to go and see the president, it's very important. As far as they said the Gambia, they said to protect the Banjul wetland, the Tanbi. Let's invite them for a dialogue. The youth of Sanyang coming out to say, let's protect our environment. Let's invite them to dialogue. But let's not send, forces that will go and oppress them. Although the police forces and the military are not enemies, they are there to actually make sure that there is law and order. But also, we must always understand that the rules of engagements and the directives on the use of force must always, be put into factors, So basically, we thank you very much for watching us. The next show is going to be Land Conflict 101. And the following is going to be Land Conflict 102. We have seen that land conflict is something that is eating us. And in fact, as I speak to you, maybe there are people who actually are in serious confrontation because, land conflict is a major issue in this country. And the Peace Talk Show has brought this issue here. And we thank you very much for watching us. And our able technician and the cameraman, we thank you. God bless you. Justice.
Follow Alassana Justice Diallo every other Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. For sponsors and partners, contact 369-0164 or 272-3819. Hello, the Peace Talk Show is back on the bench. We educate, advocate, and inform you on peace, security, and dangers related to violence. Every week, we have interesting topics to discuss. Our guests are highly informed. Gambia is the homeland of peace. Let's teach the world peace. Follow Alassana Justice Diallo